Alright guys, starting off a new list today for you, a series. Let's see how many videos we can make out of this series. But best men's fragrances of the 1990s. Part 1, find out what they are coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm talking about men's fragrances from the 90s. I think this was a great decade for fragrances, and actually, even though the 80s were kind of somewhat similar fragrances, we had a lot of aromatic, spicy, woody, fougere fragrances, not a lot of other styles. I think in the 90s it started becoming very different, and then on to the 2000s, and then fragrances completely changed for men. But I love the 90s fragrances. I have some amazing fragrances that I wore, and I remember these fragrances were powerhouses even then. I mean, we call the men's powerhouses of the 80s, of course, powerhouses, but there were a lot of fragrances in the 90s that were also powerhouses, and there were some amazing offerings. A lot of these are discontinued. A lot of them are still selling. I've got a list here for you. It's part 1, and we're doing this by year. So each video will start at 1990 and end in 1999. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one. And I just sprayed this on skin. I can't believe how good this is. It's a 1990 offering. This is launched in 1990. I don't know when the bottle is from, but my God, it smells good. It's Balenciaga Pour Homme, one of the best men's fragrances ever created. It was launched in 1990. It was created by Gerard. It's patchouli, sandalwood, cedar, cinnamon, amber, oakmoss, vanilla, musk, cypress, coriander, bergamot, thyme. This is a fragrance if you launch today, it would completely flop because this is not what people are smelling. And even though there's a lot of fougères launching lately, this is, I'm not saying this is definitely a fougère, but it's in the style for me, but more like an amber, woody, earthy. But if this was launched now, I think this would be a complete flop because people do not enjoy fragrances like this. And what I love about this one, it's that ambery experience with a lot of patchouli. And the patchouli comes off a bit cakey, not necessarily very chocolatey, but more like dense cake, but it's the amber that's creating it. There's also the oak moss in here. It's to the point of smelling orgasmic how good this fragrance is. I've got several bottles in the 30 ml. I was looking for 100 ml. I can't find any, but I have found several in the 30 ml. And this particular one smells better than others. I don't know when this was produced, but man, it's so good. So good. Let me know if you're a fan of Balenciaga Pour Homme. That is the fragrance we're starting off with today. Then heading off to Lagerfeld's Photo, also from 1990. I think I need to clean my bottle a little bit. I still haven't cleaned this since I brought it back from a vintage perfume shop. This was another fragrance that I really enjoyed. I never wore the Balenciaga Pour Homme. I wore this one though. And it's kind of in the similar style, but different direction. This is Aldehydes. Once again, launched in 1990, but I don't have a perfumer's name for this. If you have a perfumer's name for Lagerfeld Photo, let me know. It's Aldehydes, Oakmoss, Carnation, Lavender, Rose, Benzoin, Musk, Sandalwood, Coriander, Lemons, Bergamot, Jasmine, Patchouli, Tonka, Cedar, Honey. Lots going on here. This bottle is not smelling the freshest, but I basically bought it because it's a lot of memories for me. Lagerfeld fragrances were some of my favorites in the late 80s and the very early 90s. And then this one brings back memories. This does act a bit more sour in comparison to the last one. And I think it's the kind of notes that are in here. There's a lot more aromatics and herbal notes in here. It smells like an herb garden a little bit. But, you know, it's not bad right now. What I was saying earlier, it's not smelling the best. I think it still smells pretty good. And there's a very fizzy, not ozonic, but like a effervescent quality with this, and it's caused by the aldehydes. And also, of course, oak moss is regulated now, not necessarily used a lot. I think they're trying to figure out ways to use oak moss again, and they're using like little portions or like a little section of the oak moss they can use and not be an allergen or something. But also, here we have Carnation. Carnation is not a very popular note. There's an old school vibe about it, but I really enjoy that one. Lagerfeld Photo from 1990. Heading over to the Ralph Lauren. This is Polo Crest. This is, I don't have a cap unfortunately, but I actually obtained this in a storage locker auction haul video I did. You go catch that video because it's really interesting, and we were like opening up bags and bags of perfumes that I had never really experienced, and this came in it, and man, it smells so good. I never got to wear this in the 1990s. I kind of skipped it because I had moved on to other brands. And this probably came under the radar. It wasn't something that was publicized too much. But this fragrance, man, it is so good. It's actually even better than how POLO smells today, because there's some brightness around it, but it's got a lot of aromatics. It's of course very woody, it's very spicy, and of course leathery as well. There's Oakmoss, pine needles, basil, leather, Artemisia, caraway. There's Carnation, Cedar, Rosemary, Patchouli, bergamot, juniper, geranium. All the aromatics, all the spices, all the woods, the leather are in here. This is a really fantastic fragrance. If you can get your hands on it, do. It's a flanker to the original POLO, but an amazing, awesome fragrance that I can't believe how good it is. And thankfully, it was being kept in good condition in that storage locker, and to this day, it smells amazing. So recently, I bought a bottle of this. I've been wanting to add it back to my collection. This is from the house of GIORGIO Beverly Hills. It's Red for Men. And I can't believe this is under Revlon, and some of the fragrances under Revlon for Halston do not smell as good as how this fragrance smells. And maybe because it's a bit more of a modern fragrance, because the Halston fragrances date back to the 70s or the early 80s, but this still smells great. Once again, another fougere-like fragrance here. We've got leather, carnation, artemisia, oak moss, amber, juniper berries, caraway, geranium, patchouli, cedar, thyme, rose, basil. Lots of great notes in here, and it smells to this day really fantastic. This is one that I wore and I really loved, and I think my bottle at the time was not a spray bottle. I can't remember. It was maybe a splash bottle, because they had those quite a bit back then. But I'm smelling it right now on the strip. Really fantastic. It's quite leathery, but it's been covered up and smoothed over by some of those aromatic spicy notes and the amber and everything. But honestly, there's a very menthol-like vibe, and a lot of these fragrances do have them so far because of all the herbs that are used in here in these fragrances. And you know, if you're looking for an old school fragrance, I think this is really good. I mean, I wouldn't say this lasts a long time, but they've kept the smell so good, almost as good as the original. I'm not saying it's identical, but it is thinned down. But to me, it smells fantastic. Absolutely love it. Really great. GIORGIO Beverly Hills Red for Men. Now, the next one's from the house of Guerlain, launched in 1992. I've got the Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum in the older bottles, and I feel like the Eau de Toilette is no longer in the States. They have them in the new bottles, the square bottles, like the Habit Rouge Spirit that just came out. But I have these, and I think the Guerlain USA website doesn't feature the Eau de Toilette anymore, and I have to double check to see if it's still selling in Europe or in France. But Heritage launched as an EDT and EDP in 1992 according to the databases, created by Jean-Paul Guerlain. It's coriander, lavender, patchouli, cedarwood, tonka, vanilla, bergamot, lemons, and pink pepper. To me, the EDT, I'm sorry, is it the EDT that I really enjoyed? I can't remember. It's been a while. I have a video with Dahlia comparing the two. I think we got better performance from the EDT. I mean, it's the same, basically the same fragrance. It's just a concentration thing. Eau de Toilette is a lighter concentration than the EDP. But I think in that video we explained something is performing better than the other. But in the end, it's a great fragrance. It's a bit fougere-like once again, but I would call this more of like an amber style fougere. There's aromatics and spices here. There's ambery touches, vanillic touches, and spices galore. Really wonderful creation. And I mentioned recently in my video for Habit Rouge Spirit that I'm hoping that they would do a parfum of this. But the fact that they've already removed the EDT from the USA website, at least I can't see it there, tells me that Heritage is not one of their more popular fragrances. Who knows? We shall see. But I'm praying for a parfum edition of the Heritage. I think it would do great. What do you guys think? But moving on to the house of Rocha. This is Eau de Rocha Homme. This one right here. And it's a lemony fragrance, very citrusy. This is launched in 1993. It's Gilles Romey, Mandarin, Cypress, Vetiver, Verbena, Artemisia, cedarwood, iris, orris, juniper. So it's a great kind of eau sauvage-like fragrance, very lemony, very citrusy, a bit astringent and tart, but enough sweetness is in there to, you know, balance it out and not be like this uber tart sour thing. But then there's also, you know, aromatics, of course, and woods and things like that. Does get a bit powdery, but there was a lot of stock of this out there, like around 10 years ago. I don't know how the stock is out there right now. Yeah, really wonderful, invigorating, fresh, effervescent, citrusy fragrance with some powdery touches. And then, of course, there's some light aromatics and maybe some woods under there as well. Great fragrance from ROCHAS. So the next fragrance I'm talking about is from the house of Calvin Klein. And I think this is the third fragrance, not the third Calvin Klein men's fragrance, but the third in a series of Calvin Klein men's fragrances, or even women's, that were like really, really popular. There was Obsession, then there was Eternity, and then finally in 1993 it was Escape, created by David Apel and Steve deMercado. And to me, I wore this in around 1993 when I started going to art school and film school, and it was a lot louder back then than it is now. It's rosemary, grapefruit, oak moss, cypress, eucalyptus, clary sage, bergamot, fir balsam, juniper berries, patchouli, sandalwood, vetiver, and birch leaves. And to me, this was a modern, at that time, take on a fougere fragrance. It was a lot of aromatics and spices, but also a lot of citruses. There was something fruity happening in here as well. Something fruity that an accord was created. And so I really like that about it. It was almost like melon-like. I took the notes down from Wiki Parfum. So sometimes maybe there's accords created in fragrances. They're not mentioning melon. But to me, I get a melon-like effect happening in here. So it's almost like a fruity fougere thing. But it was a fun fragrance, very light now in comparison to what it was back then. I remember back then it was just so intense, so overwhelming. One spray would fill a room up. Here now it's gotten softer. It doesn't have that denseness that it once did, but I think to get an idea of what this was all about, I think it's great to check out CK or Calvin Klein Escape for Men. But the next one was a big flop when it launched. This is from the house of Givenchy. It's Insensé. Oh my god, one of the best fragrances ever created. And once again, a unique take on a fougere. And it's an aldehydic fougere. And it's created by Daniel Moliere. It features notes of aldehydes, fir, lily of the valley, blackcurrant, lavender, magnolia, basil, bergamot, mandarin, lemons, and iris. So when I was putting the fragrances out, I wore this in one hand, and that's Balenciaga Pour Homme, and then I wore Insensé by Givenchy on the other hand, because both of those fragrances are so amazing. Two of the best fragrances ever made from the 90s. And this is, if you can get your hands on one of these, it's a fantastic fragrance. Absolutely love it. It's a unique take on a modern fougere at the time. It was modern for what we were used to back in the 80s. But really fantastic. It smells like the woods, the forest, the fir note, but it's been given airy, cloudy, a fizziness with the aldehydes. So there's also some light fruitiness that comes in and mixes with the fir, and aromatics and citruses together. Oh my god, it is so amazing. One of the best fragrances ever created, I think. And I think it was maybe too futuristic, too ahead of its time. People didn't get it, because from what I've read and from what I saw, it came and went, like it was just not around too long. Anyway, Insensé by Givenchy, let me know if you're a fan of it. It's a fantastic fragrance. But moving on to the house of Gilles Roche, it's Horizon, this one right here. This is not Drakkar, by the way. It looks like a Drakkar bottle, but this to me was a bit like their take on like a, what is it, Cool Water? Something in that line. So it's a bit like a aquatic take on their own style of fougere, marine fougere, or aquatic fougere, I should say. It's aldehydes, oak moss, pine needles, cassis, mint, green notes, leather, cedar, patchouli, lavender, artemisia, carnation, caraway, sandalwood. By the way, it's created by Alan Estori. Let me know if you're familiar with this. And interesting, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I remember there was a lot of stock on FragranceNet or one of the discounters. I'm not sure where it appeared from, but they must have somehow found stock. And even though I had just bought one from a vintage perfume shop, I ordered a few more just for, to keep a couple, because it's a great fragrance, and it was very inexpensive too. I don't understand what had happened. But to me, there's a light fruitiness here and something watery, but under there's a lot of aromatics. I'm getting a little bit of fruitiness from here as well. But to me, it's a great fragrance. I really love it. It's totally not Drakkar or Drakkar Noir, but it is in a bottle like that. And this is one of my favorite bottles of the 90s. I think for me, visually, it looked really great. I really love that bottle. So up next, going to the house of Dolce & Gabbana, it's Pour Homme. So this is the fragrance. This is actually a vintage bottle. I have a current version, but I pulled out my vintage bottle for this. So this is the fragrance I was wearing a lot of when I was going to school, studying filmmaking and art and things like that. And I used to wear so much of this, whether it was at work, whether it was at school. I knew I was getting some faces from people because maybe it was too strong. And back then, this thing was a monster. It was intense, so potent. That's what I liked about it. Also, I feel like there was something warm and vanillic and sweet mixed in with a lot of aromatics. I don't remember what has happened to the fragrance, and I'm not sure when this came out. This particular bottle was manufactured. It is smelling like the original, but it seems thin as well, but nothing like the current formulation of this fragrance because it was redone at some point. But it's neroli, lavender, clary sage, tarragon, tobacco leaf, cardamom, pepper, bergamot, cedarwood, tonka, iris, lemon, mandarin, musk, orange, sandalwood. Oh man, this was so beast mode. A little would go a long way, and I would spritz this stuff all over. It was one of the best releases ever. I even knew friends, they bought bottles and they got tired of it at the end. They couldn't tolerate it anymore because it was so strong. To me, it takes me back to mid-90s when things were really fun. I was younger, and I was spritzing a lot of this fragrance. It's such a great fragrance. So great. It's just spicy, it's peppery, it's tobacco. It was a bit ambery as well. And then, of course, there's citruses and tonka and things like that that are coming in here to give you a little bit more of like a fougere vibe. But there was something under there that gave it this kind of like a warm glow. Like it was warm and a bit sweet, which is fantastic. I love that about it. If I didn't mention the perfumer, it's Max Gavari, by the way. But moving on at number 11, this is not a rank list. I'm just doing this in chronological order. This is Animal from 1994. This came out 3 years after Mugler's Angel launched and 3 years before Angel Men launched. And I think maybe Amen was inspired by this, and this one was inspired by Angel. There's a whole video I shot with a person that was involved in the creation of Animal. You can search the channel, you can hear all about it. It's created by Vito Lenoci. It's sandalwood, vanilla, lemons, cedarwood, amber, cocoa, galbanum, lavender, lily of the valley, lime, musk, nutmeg, patchouli, and pineapple. To me, it gives me some pure malt vibes, gives me some pure Havana vibes, Amen vibes. It's fruity, it's aromatic, it's spicy, it's citrus. Just really wonderful. I can't believe this was way ahead of its time when it came out because totally takes me back to like Mugler days. This just smells like a Mugler fragrance. And my bottle is from like 2012, 2013. I don't know what the current formulation smells like, but to me this still smells great. Really fantastic. And then there's this one, Le Male from the house of Jean-Paul Gaultier. That's the first, or I should say not the first, but the fragrance that put Francis Kurkdjian on the map, and basically an amber fougere fragrance, and everybody knows this one is popular, so many flankers nowadays. It's a lavender, tonka, bergamot, mint, vanilla, and neroli, and you know, it's a very familiar smell. We're used to this one. They're cranking out the flankers. Current Elixir is so good, created by Quentin Biche, but this version, the original, and a lot of the flankers that came right after this was created by Francis Kurkdjian, and you got that signature touch. But to me also, I feel like Le Male and also Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme kind of sort of share a little bit of a similarity, but I feel like they kept Le Male pretty decent, even though it's been reformulated, but the current formulation of Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme is not as good. So in the vintage, I do get some similarities. And then we're going to the house of Nico's Parfums. It's Sculpture Homme, this one right here, created by Michel Almerac. So there were several fragrances that came out in the 90s before this one, which I'll probably get to in the part 1, part 2, and part 3, that are kind of similar to me. One of them was Minotaur, created by Annick Menardo. Or wait, No, I think Laura Biagiotti Pour Homme is created by Annick Minardo, and then I think Minotaur is created by Michel Almerac. But to me, they're very similar, and most likely these perfumers work together. But here, it's kind of like a warm amber, kind of a fresh amber, like with citrusy touches and things like that. It's cedarwood, vanilla, orange blossom, amber, tonka, bergamot, and coriander. So there's a freshness about it. There's citrusy touches for sure. And then, of course, there's the amber in here. So it's a amber fragrance that doesn't get too cloying and heavy, and you can wear it if you want something citrusy and fresh, but with a bit more depth and sweetness of the amber that's in here. Let me know if you're familiar with it. The new Parfum is really good, by the way, and there's a lot of flankers that are coming out as well. I have a whole video on their flankers. Go catch that. But let me know if you're a fan of Nico's Sculpture Pour Homme or Sculpture Homme. But really great fragrance. It smells good. I really like it. It's sweet, it's citrusy, it's ambery, it's spicy. I think it's perfect for summer days if you want some substance. But next we're going to the house of Molinard. This is Homme 2, this one right here. So I'm talking about fragrances from the 90s, and of course the fragrances that I own, and I can talk about them because I have them, I can smell them. This to me does remind me a little bit of this fragrance, La Male, but in a different way. And if you don't know Molinard, you got to know, because they have some great fragrances. They're a house from the south of France in Grasse. You can actually go visit their house or their perfumery, and you can buy fragrances there and do a little museum there as well. Highly recommend it if you end up in the south of France. But this is really wonderful. No perfumer is named here. And wait, I think I skipped the fragrance, but I'll come back to it. No perfumer is named here, but this is vanilla, lavender, juniper, honey, patchouli, vetiver, cedar, coriander, orange, mandarin, tarragon, and hay. Let me know if you're familiar with this. I bought this bottle around 2012, maybe 2013. And I think it still smells great today. It's a fougere-like fragrance. It's a powdery. To me, it also reminds me of Fleur de Mal a little bit with Le Mal. So it's kind of a combo of those two fragrances, which is kind of cool because I can't really get Fleur de Mal anymore. But really wonderful offering. If you don't know Molinard Homme 2, check it out if you can get it. It's definitely fougere style, but with some citrusy, powdery touches. Then one of the fragrances that I absolutely love, that got me to start doing YouTube videos. It's Mugler's Amen. Amen used to be called Angel Men, created by Jacques Huclier, which is actually doing the new series of fragrances, including the new Angel Stellar. And I'm actually looking forward to Amen Stellar, because I mentioned in the Angel Stellar video, there's got to be an Amen Stellar announced, and it's finally announced. But this is definitely one of the fragrances that I absolutely was obsessed with and wore so much of. It's vanilla, coffee, patchouli, bergamot, peppermint, lavender, tonka, helional, aldehydes, birch tar, caramel, musk, and chocolate. Yeah, it's gotten butchered down, but to me, it's the reminder of the fragrance that I really like. Takes me back to the 90s when I first smelled this one. It was about Angel first. Then when Amen was announced, or Angel Men was announced, I was so excited, and I got it, and I got coffee. That birch tar in here kind of gave it like a molassesy thing with the patchouli together and the caramel. It still smells good, but it's so thin now, so thin. But one time I was in New Orleans, and I went to a club, and some bartender was just checking in to get on, you know, and he had a bottle of Mugler Amen, and this was in the heat of summer. It was August, and this guy started spritzing this stuff on like 7-8 times like that. There was a cloud of Amen in this bar. It was so intense, but I was like, I love that smell. Next, another fragrance from 1996. It's Keton Men. This one right here, created by, oh god, this is not Michel Almerac. I've got the wrong name written here. It's Maurice Roussel. It's violet, lily of the valley, pineapple, musk, bergamot, sage, lemons, cedar, oak moss, and tonka. So I bought a bottle of this in the black, Keton Black, around the pandemic, very highly discounted. Then all of a sudden they were discontinued. But guess what? This is back. It's selling at Keton. It's in a red bottle, and it's like triple price. It's so expensive because it's part of their luxury collection now. But to me, it's a violet bomb. It's very powdery. It's floral. It's spicy and also citrusy. And of course, you've got some woods and, you know, some more intense notes in the dry down. But really wonderful offering here. It's a great fragrance if you like violets. It's very powdery. And it doesn't smell like violet candy, but there is a little bit of that effect. And most likely this is like also ozonic, because they are mentioning violet, but I'm getting some violet leaves effect as well. So most likely they're combining violet and violet leaves together. Wonderful offering. Then going to the house of Estee Lauder, it's Pleasures for Men from 1997. This is created by Pierre Wargnaye, Carlos Benayem, and Jean-Claude Delville. And it's a kind of like a nectarine rind fragrance to me, because there's nectarines in the notes. And the skin, the rind I said, but the skin is what I'm talking about. There's a little bit of a tartness on the skin, and I get that here. And it's like, it smells like it. It's leaves, nectarine, allspice, moss, citruses, coriander, ebony tree, ozonic notes, sandalwood, red ginger. I can't believe this is still selling. It's so good. If you like the smell of nectarine or some fruit skins, even like mango or things like that, there's a tartness about it, a greenness, but it's covered with a lot of spices. This is definitely one you should try. Really love it. I can't believe they're still selling it. I love that fragrance. It's so, so good. But this one, oh man, has a lot of meaning for me. This one, and also Amen and Boss Bottled, the original. I just spoke about it in a video for the Boss Bottled Bold Citrus. Go catch that video. But this has a lot of meaning for me. I'm still in love with this fragrance. Launched in 1998. Created by Anique Minardo. It's cedar, apples, vanilla, cinnamon, geranium, vetiver, plum, sandalwood, bergamot, cloves, palisander, and palisander rosewood. To me, it's a holiday spice with like an apple fruitiness. There's a lot of warmth and vanillic notes under there. It becomes ambery and woody also. But to this day, I think it's still a pretty solid fragrance. And I feel like Coty, who does all the fragrances for Hugo Boss, is doing a great job with all of their front flankers. As you can see, I've got quite a few flankers. And if you haven't caught my video on Bold Citrus, you go catch that please and find out all about it. Anique Minardo did such a great job with this one. To me, it smells so, so good. I love the fruitiness, the spiciness, the woodiness, the ambery touches, and the vanillic touches all rolled into one. Yeah, it's gotten thinner, but it still smells like the fragrance I remember wearing in the late 90s. And speaking of Anique Minardo, it's Boucheron's Jaipur pour Homme. I've got the EDT and EDP. This is the EDP. But apparently the EDT and EDP were launched together in 1998. So this is also Anique Minardo. So she did two kind of warm, spicy fragrances, but I feel like the Boucheron Jaipur is a lot warmer. It's maybe a bit more like ambery, but it's cedar, bergamot, vanilla, cinnamon, patchouli, tonka, amber, benzoin, cardamom, carnation, cloves, heliotrope, jasmine, lemons, lime, nutmeg, and rose. Oh my, this is so good. I recently bought a bottle because I hadn't worn it since the late 90s and the early 2000s. And even though it's gotten thin, yes, everything gets thin. Everything gets reformulated because they're getting reformulated constantly. To me, this is so, so amazing. I remember first smelling this at Macy's and thinking, God, it is so warm and spicy. So like intensely holidays, but really wonderful because the vanilla, the mixes really wonderfully with the warm spices, and of course the carnation and the cloves together. It's powdery as well. There's that tonka and patchouli, and it's very fresh up top, citrusy, and you do get a bit of the rose too. The rose comes in, but it doesn't overwhelm. It's not a rose fragrance. It's a spicy warm amber with woods and citruses. Really wonderful offering. And last but not least, we've got Chanel's Allure Homme, launched in 1999, created by Jacques Polge. It's bergamot, vetiver, tonka, cedarwood, pink pepper, coriander, and mandarin. Yeah, they've done a countless amount of flankers on this, and it's also been copied by other brands. I think they created a wonderful DNA. That's why it's popular. But it has gotten thinner for sure. But I smelled this before this video once again. I was like, oh, I remember that. That smells good. That smells really, really good. I like some of the flankers more, but I like that combination of the warmth, the tonka. It's a tonka bean fragrance with the woods and spices and all that freshness of the citruses there as well. I think it's a great DNA. It definitely deserves to be on this list. Definitely one of the best from the 90s. And that is the 20th fragrance I'm talking about today. Stay tuned for part 2 and 3. And also let me know, what fragrances do you want to see in part 2 and part 3? Throw out some names that you remember from the 90s. Make sure it's the 90s. We're not talking about 80s, 70s, or the 2000s, or the 2010s. Strictly the 90s. If there's a 90s fragrance that I didn't mention in this video, if I have it, I will feature in the next video. Or in part 3 if I end up acquiring it or buying it somewhere. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Add a comment below if you liked them, if you hated them. If you hated it at first and you enjoyed it later, or you enjoyed it at first and hated it later, because that happens with fragrances. Add some comments below so I can find out. But either way, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.